One night I sat down to animate. It was already late, and the usual 20 minutes I had 10. I almost didn't do it. I stared at my iPad and thought, what's the point? What can I even do? But I opened Procreate anyway, picked up where I left off, and focused on one piece of my head turn that made progress. And little by little, that's how I've animated a full head turn in 20 minutes. Sometimes with more time, sometimes with less. If animation feels impossible to fit into your life, I get it. But in this video, I'll share with you the simple habit that's kept me going even when I've had no time and no energy. To be clear, this routine did not come from a productivity guru. It came from a time when I was stressed and little time due to responsibility of job and kids, and I wanted to still have time to animate because that creativity was so important. Because without creativity, what was life for? Without being able to animate, what was I doing with it myself? Here's what this routine looks like, and I'll show you how it can fit in with your life. My routine has 3 parts. There's time, workspace, and a mini goal. Time is just how much time I've set aside for a night. Usually it's between 20 and 40 minutes. And it's blocked off for animation. Workspace for me is keeping Procreate open to the project that I'm currently working on, so I'm not scrambling to try to figure out what am I working on, where is it located, and getting distracted by another project. And then the last one that keeps this whole habit sustainable is the mini goal. This is where I focus on one piece of the project of what I want to accomplish next. And this habit is how I've been animating an entire head turn. Let me show you. It started like this in the very beginning, and this progress is actually what's happened over a week to get this far. And you can see there is not even any animation on it yet. But at the very end of doing it little by little, this is what I have. It's not perfect, but my goal wasn't to make it perfect because I was looking at that as an animation exercise. But I did do this with that 20 to 40 minute time block that I had set aside for this. And this animation, just to be clear, it did not take just an hour to make. It took 4 hours to make, and this didn't happen over the course of a week or 2 weeks. I'm pretty sure it took me 3 weeks, but we'll check the dates. The reason why I'm bringing up this head turn is because I'm showing you that there is a way to animate, even if you are not doing a full character animation at the time, you're not doing a full any kind of project in the space of time that you have for yourself to pursue your creative passion of animation, which is a fun hobby. Can we all agree? So now, of course, on to the interesting part of how can you take this habit and actually make it work for you, because that's the whole point of watching this video, right? If my habit has 3 parts, a time, a workspace, and a mini goal, let's break it down and go into each of those sections about how it would work for your life. So let's start with the time. Time is going to be about finding a time block that works for you, where it fits in your life. And I have another video completely dedicated to finding where you can have your creative space without adding more to your plate. So I won't get into how you can block your time in this video, but I will link it below so that you can find that when you have time. Regardless of when you pick your time block, you also have to bake in permission for yourself to skip a night or 2. I do this all the time. If it doesn't work out for me to animate that night, I do not put the pressure on myself to animate. The goal is to just get back into animating in your time slot within the next 2 days. Now we'll move on to the second part, which is the workspace. I found that the easiest way to tackle workspace is you don't have to have a desk, you don't have to have an office. You just have to know where you're going to be animating every night. For me, it's my couch. For you, that might look like it's in a cafe somewhere, or maybe it's in your basement. Maybe it's you locking yourself away in your room to get away from screaming kids. Finally, we are up to mini goals. The entire point of this part of the habit is that you are pretty much breaking your project down into bite-sized pieces. So you're going to look at your project, figure out what kind of project you're even planning on doing, of course, and then you're going to want to break it down into what steps it's going to take to get there. For instance, in my head turn, I had to first design my character. The next step was creating the different profiles, the front, 3/4, the side, so that I would know how to do the head turn. And only once that was done did I start getting into the rough animation, then final animation, and then coloring. But that's a lot of steps, and any one of those steps is too much to do in one night, as with so little time. So I ended up breaking it down even more. I just focused on the first part, which was creating my character, but I couldn't even do that in one night. So it was breaking it down even further, where it was just experimenting, then it was finalizing it, then it was finally starting to figure out how to take this front view or the side profile and turn it into a 3/4 view, into a front view, and so on and so forth until I was finally ready to get up to the second major step, which was doing the rough animations. There's a reason why this habit works so well, because it's not about creating motivation for yourself. The reason why I say that is that you are trying to create a routine, because if you're in this busy, hectic part and you're trying to figure out time for animation, you only have so much time to do it, your brain is going to resist change. Brains love routine. That is why when we get up at the same time every morning, we are more awake and ready to tackle the day versus if we are startled awake at a different point and can't fall back asleep and our day is kind of wrecked. So the entire point of this is you are building a routine that your brain is going to love, and it creates an almost safe space for you, because if you know what to expect in your busy, hectic day, then it's going to make more sense to follow through and to keep to it, because it just keeps adding to that help of keeping a sense of calm in your life, because your brain isn't trying to resist it and say, oh, you don't usually do that. You're not supposed to do that. This isn't what you do at this time. Instead, it becomes, oh, this is what you do at this time. This is relaxing. This is part of the routine of your life, of your day. Yes, let's absolutely do this now. And then once you open the program that you're using to animate, it gets even easier to just start animating, because you're already there and you're ready. But before you plan your next project using this method, you need to remember not to cram everything into the time slot that you gave yourself. I know from experience that it leads to insane amount of pressure to finish everything in that amount of time. That's why I explained why I had to break down my head turn into such manageable, digestible parts, even breaking it down even further than I thought I needed it to be. Otherwise, I would have burnt out. I would have been crushed by the pressure. I would have been zoned in and just feeling like this was a second job, that I had to get this project done and there was no other options. It's not the way to animate something you love. Which just brings me back that just by doing progress little by little by little actually gives you better results when you have something that you look forward to enjoy creating versus just something that you're cramming in and you're just trying to do the most that you possibly can. Just take this head turn that I'm working on as an example. Well, I've been using it throughout this entire video, I know, but I really do feel like it is the best example that I can give you, because this head animation, I'm pretty sure it took about 4 hours to make, and yet it's looking pretty good. I'm not going to pretend and say this is the best thing ever. I'm critical enough of my work that I know it's not, but I think it's decent for the first time that I've ever done a head turn, at least that I've animated traditionally, and drew everything out. And if you're wondering if you have hidden animation time in your day, watch this video next. I walk you through how to find those tiny creative windows without adding more to your plate, because you're already busy, but you should be able to make your creativity work for you, and you shouldn't have to give it up with all the responsibilities in life.